Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate it. Mr. Secretary, I heard you say something in your opening comments about a trilateral group that met regarding North American energy grid and indicated that Mexico wanted to hook their grid into our grid. This immediately raised some concerns, which I hope you can allay for me, and that would be that while workers in Central Appalachia, and particularly in the 9th District of Virginia, which I happen to represent, are being laid off in the mines because of EPA policy, not DOE policy, but because of EPA policy, we have a situation where if we hook our grid into Mexico's, they could theoretically be sending electricity to the United States made with either Texan coal or Mexican coal or somewhere else they get it. I would note that Texas did approve a project, appears based on the reports that I've got in 2013 to send coal. Some people claim that it's not as good as coal that we would allow to be burned in the United States, but more importantly, and I'm quoting from an article in, if I'm reading this right, heartland.org by Cheryl Chumley, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency restrictions on coal power make Mexico the most viable market for U.S. coal mines near the Mexican border. Mexico has relatively few restrictions on coal power plants relative to the heavy EPA regulations of U.S. coal power plants. And then there's the concern that in the Coahuila, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, region of Mexico, which borders Texas, that the Los Zetas, formerly drug gang, now coal mining gang as well, have taken over the coal industry, and they produce about 95% of Mexico's coal. So I just worry if they hook into our grid and then we have a shortage because we have had the EPA debilitate the ability to use coal in this country, that we'll be using coal that's burned at lower standards, lower grade coal, where we have extortion and other things operating in the mines and a safety record for the workers that is abysmal. And I would have to ask you to be cautious on that. And I think you would agree with me that we may not agree on how much coal ought to be used, but that when coal is used to provide American electricity, it ought to be done under American work standards and under American energy standards, and that we should not be allowing Mexico to backdoor the use of coal, particularly dirty coal, when we have lots of clean coal that my folks would like to be mining and are now finding themselves unemployed. You would agree with that, would you not?
With all of our international engagements, trade engagements, environmental and labor standards are critical, yes.
And the problem is that if you start wheeling that electricity in, it will have been made under their standards, and there's no way you can
well, I think,
isn't that accurate?
I think you raised an issue that we need to be on top of. I do think that it's important to recognize. Look, then this is just an early start of a discussion, but to recognize that Mexico is also taking some pretty strong environmental positions. That's a discussion that will have to evolve. I mean, and it's a good point.
All right, I appreciate that. I will tell you that I think the DOE does some good things. I'm worried about the EPA, and I've got a much longer question, but my time is running out because I got diverted with the Mexican issue. But it appears that the EPA has asked in their budget request, and I'm quoting now, evaluating and capturing these compliance strategies requires the agency to tap into technical and policy expertise not traditionally needed in EPA regulatory development. For example, nuclear, wind, solar, hydroelectric, and demand-side energy efficiency, and to understand and project system-wide approaches and trends in areas such as electricity transmission, distribution, and storage. I just have to tell you, I often think that the EPA thinks that they don't need Congress. It sounds like from the language in their budget requests, they don't think they need the Department of Energy. What say you?
I can assure you that EPA and other agencies, FERC, others, do call upon us for technical analysis.
Well, but if I don't have any problem with them calling on you for technical analysis, it seems like they want to set up their own technical abilities to do that analysis. And don't you think that would be a wasteful spending on our part to approve that for the EPA when we already have your fine agency doing that work? And isn't it just another example of EPA overreach?
I appreciate the endorsement of our excellent work.
And I appreciate you, Mr. Secretary, as well. I have other questions that I'm afraid I'll have to submit for the record because our time is up and we do have votes waiting. But thank you so much for being here today, and appreciate your good work.
Thank you.
Mr. Griffith's time has expired. You have something, Mr.
We'll
Flores?
submit our questions for the record.